All right. I'm with Katie Herzog, everybody. Welcome back. So good to see you.
Good to see you. I feel like my studio, which is just a white room compared to yours, I sort of look like I'm in an insane asylum compared to you. Or maybe you're the insane asylum.
I definitely look like I'm in the insane asylum. People always say it has like reminders of Peewees Playhouse.
It's very Peewees Playhouse.
Which is cool. I like that. I like to remind people of the days of their childhood when we were entertained by an insane person.
Yeah, who got arrested jerking off at a porn theater, which I think, frankly, is unfair. Like, what else are you supposed to do at a porn theater?
Yeah, exactly. I thought that's what they all did in there.
Right. You have one job.
I just assumed. It seems if it was like a Disney movie, okay, you should be arrested.
Yes. I wonder. Actually, I do wonder what the movie was. You never hear about it.
Oh, that is a good question.
Was it Gone with the Wind?
What was the movie? Can you look up the movie that Pee-wee Herman was masturbating to when he got arrested?
Oh God.
We're getting right into it. We don't have our like Jamie situation worked out quite as well as Joe and Jamie do.
Do you ever call Maggie Jamie?
I'm just gonna start calling her Jamie.
It's a nice gender neutral name.
It is a nice one. It would be really funny if I'm like, look that up, Jamie.
This is a difficult question to answer, as Pee-wee Herman has never confirmed which movie he was caught masturbating to. However, many people believe it was the 1985 film Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So his own movie.
What?
Nobody believes that. It's
no
a
one
good
believes
joke,
that. Yeah, that is a good joke. I don't believe. Did you ask like AI this?
I asked Google. Let's see what Reddit
AI
says.
doesn't know shit.
That seems like a grok answer.
That does seem like a grok answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how you can start telling the different AI personalities. Yes. It's not good.
The theater was showing the movie Nancy Nurse, Turn Up the Heat, and Tiger Shark.
Okay.
So
Nancy, huh? He was gay, right? I mean, I know there's the new.
Hope it wasn't Tiger Shark.
There's the new documentary out about him. My assumption, without having watched the film or knowing much about Paul Rubens, is that he was a giant homosexual. That's right, right?
I don't know if he was.
I mean,
was he gay?
Jamie.
Look that up, Jamie. Was he gay? We're gonna find out. I thought he was straight, but I don't know why.
Does not look like a straight man.
No.
Yes,
he was gay.
He came out as gay in a posthumous documentary about his life.
Okay, he came out after he died.
Okay, brave.
Well, now that we know everything about Pee-wee Herman, let's talk about your book.
Great. Did you read it?
I read a lot of it. It's I have a really hard time reading on screens, and I know the hard copy isn't out yet.
I'll send it to you. I have boxes of them now. It's like, okay, you're on the list, but they just came out.
Yeah, it's just like for some reason I have not adapted to reading books on screens. I need to like turn pages and underline things. I'm still so weirdly analog about it. But but as somebody who's in AA and sober, it's obviously a topic dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about how you decided to write this book and what was the inspiration.
So I guess maybe I back up a little bit and tell people kind of the gist of it so they understand what's different about this than AA. So I got sober during COVID after about a 20-year drinking career, my longest career, really, definitely the longest relationship as well. And COVID, my drinking I went through periods of sobriety, but never long-term sobriety. And COVID my drinking just really accelerated during COVID. And I was alone a lot because my wife is a nurse. And so she was, actually working. And I was at home podcasting and like fucking around on Twitter, mostly scrolling. That's mostly how I spent COVID.
Uh-huh.
And then occasionally like talking to you on the phone and like both of us freaking out about like the world was ending, not because of COVID, but because of all the other shit. And I fucking drank. I drank a lot. And I got to the point where it was like, it started out as just like drinking after I would do my job. And then it was drinking while I was doing my job. And then it was drinking before I was doing my job. And so it was like the time that I would start would get earlier and earlier. And I was under no illusions about my problem. Like I knew that I was an alcoholic when I was in my early 20s. And I had gone to meetings at various points over this since my early 20s. So like 15 years. I'd gone to meetings periodically. I'd done therapy. I had done smart recovery and moderation management. And I tried to get sober or get control over my drinking, and just nothing, long-term, just nothing worked. And COVID got to the point during COVID where it was like, I'm killing myself. I'm like waking up at 3:00 every morning. I have this giant secret that I'm keeping from everyone in my life. My wife had no idea, which people find hard to believe, but like, actually, you probably wouldn't find it hard to believe. Like, people who like, you get a remark, like, for it's, people can hide this shit. You can hide it. It's like, it's kind of surprising to people who don't maybe have a lot of experience with alcoholism, but like, you can hide it.
You can, and I think people around you tend to want, it's in their interest to avoid it too. So there are two things that work at the same time, where it's like, it's in their benefit to believe that it's not that you're hiding something, but that even if they have like an instinct that maybe you are, I think it's easier to just deny it.
Totally. I think for her, I think the instinct was more like, she knew that I was smoking cigarettes too, like chain smoking. Like most of the day I spent chain smoking and drinking, which in itself is like, that's a full-time hobby. And I think it was like, there was a little bit more, that was a little bit harder to hide, but I had this routine, so I would like wake up in the morning hungover, tell myself that I'm not going to do it today. And then by 11:00, I get my first craving and I'm out the door on the way to the 7-Eleven, or, I would rotate through the convenience stores near me, because I didn't want the Filipino woman down at the convenience store to like know what I was doing. It's embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I did that for like 2 years during COVID. And then, I knew like, this is going to kill me. I looked like shit. I felt like shit. Was stressed out, not suicidal, but definitely waking up in the middle of the night, like, this is going to end my life. And feeling like, my wife and my family would be better off if I were dead, because I had this like secret that I was keeping from everybody. And I had read an article in the Atlantic a few years before about this drug called Naltrexone, which is an opioid blocker. And the thing that appealed to me about this drug was that there's different ways of taking it, but the specific way that I read about, this was an article in the Atlantic, was called the Sinclair method. And you take the pill and then you continue to drink while you're on the pill. And so that was, to me, that was the appeal, was that I didn't actually have to quit drinking. I could continue to do it, because I didn't. That was the fundamental problem. Like, every time I went to AA, every time I tried to go cold turkey, every time I tried to quit, I didn't want to quit. That was the problem. And this drug, Naltrexone, under the specific protocol, it took out the abstinence part for me. So that was just such a mental block. And so the way the drug works is, you take the pill, you wait an hour, which is about how long it takes to metabolize in your system, and then you drink on the pill. And it blocks the pleasure. It's an opioid blocker, but it blocks the endorphins that you receive, that people typically receive from drinking alcohol. And there's all of these other, and then like indirectly affects things like dopamine and serotonin and stuff like that. So it blocks the feel-good chemicals, the sort of high that you get from drinking booze. And over time, and this doesn't work for everybody, but over time, as it reduces the pleasure that you get from drinking, your brain stops desiring alcohol. And that's why my book is called Drink Your Way Sober, because I literally did that. It took about 8 months, and I did this protocol like very strictly. My wife worked, 3 or 4 days a week as a nurse, and I was scientific about it. Take the pill, wait the hour, drink. And I tracked my progress. And so I could see over time how my consumption was changing, which was really helpful. There's spikes and valleys, but there was a clear downward trend. And I started incorporating extra alcohol-free days into my week. So those are days when you're not drinking, but you're also not taking the pill, because the Naltrexone, have you ever taken it?
No.
It's prescribed for a bunch of different things, and everybody's different. But for me, I didn't like the way that it made me feel. Like, I got sort of mild side effects, but mostly it's an endorphin blocker. So you just don't like, you can't feel like super happy on this pill.
Right.
And so drinking became a chore, because if I was going to drink, I had to take the pill, because that was the rule that I made for myself. I would do this. I would let myself continue to drink, but I had to do it in this one particular way. And I was this, to me, it was the last option. And I had been, I called Hazelden Betty Ford, and I got a quote on how, what it was going to cost me, the tens of thousands of dollars it would cost me to go to inpatient treatment. They said it was going to be $30,000. I needed to go to Minnesota for a month, and then do 90 days of outpatient. And that was going to be, I lived 90 minutes in a ferry ride from the closest outpatient clinic. So it was going to take over my life. So it was like, this is like, I'll do that if I have to.
Right.
But let me try this first. And it worked for me. So it took about 8 months, and I gradually reduced the amount that I drank. When I drank, I gradually increased the number of alcohol-free days I had every month. And then after about 8 months, I was like, all right, I'm going to take a month sober, which I had never done in my life, a full month. And I'm just going to see how I feel after this. And after the month, I just never started drinking again.
Wow. Yeah. But can you drink now just normally?
No. Yeah, I can never drink without the pill again, but I don't want to drink. But if I started drinking without Naltrexone, I interviewed people for the book who did this. You will very quickly relapse isn't quite the right word, but most people very quickly fall back into those old patterns. So if you're committed to this and you are an alcoholic, and I know some people, I doubt you have a problem with that term, but I know some people do, but you got to commit to this for life. And everybody's different. Maybe for some people, people who don't have sort of all of the risk factors for problematic drinking, for alcohol use disorder, who are just going through a period of their life where they just want to kind of drink less, or you're like going to the office holiday party and you don't want to embarrass yourself. So you might take a Naltrexone every once in a while. There's such an array of drinkers. But for me, I've been an alcoholic since I was 16 years old. For me, there's no drinking with the pill. But the thing is, I don't want to drink. I have no desire to. And that to me is the thing that makes this so different, is that every other time that I tried to get sober in my life, the desire never went away. And I'm sure, it probably would have if I had managed to cobble together a year. Maybe it would have gone away eventually. But now I have no desire to drink alcohol. It just does not occur to me. So it used to be if my wife was going out of town for a weekend, I'm like, hell yeah. That's I get to binge. Excuse me. I get to binge for the next 3 days. Now I literally do not think about it. It would no more occur to me to go out and get a 6-pack of beer when she's at work today than it would to go and buy some heroin, which I've never done, or to drink motor oil. It does not cross my mind. And that to me is the thing that's so freeing about this protocol. And it doesn't work for everybody. But it is as though my brain has reverted to the time before I started drinking alcohol.
And people who take this, do they sometimes take it so that they can drink normally?
Yeah. A lot of people
so
do
that they can just take it and go out and have a drink or two like a normal person.
And I think that's actually most people's goal, is they start out, because most people don't go into this, because we're talking about people who don't want to quit drinking for the most part. If you just wanted to quit, there are other ways of doing it. I mean, this was my goal was total abstinence was the ultimate goal, because it's just never, to me, one glass of wine or one beer, never seen the point, don't care about it. I don't need it. I don't want it. But there's a lot of people who want to become moderate drinkers, and they use this to get there. But there's also a lot of people who start out thinking, I'm going to take this, I'm going to do the Sinclair method. I will start becoming a normal drinker. And then they, like me, they just find that they're not into it. And so they just sort of become abstinent. And that was never the goal, but that's just what happens. And I think, honestly, that's kind of best case scenario. It's basically a really long, slow off ramp.
Right. You might have seen him on Walk-Ins Welcome, but have you checked out Brad Palumbo's podcast, Brad versus Everyone? It's a 25-minute daily show where Gen Z journalist Brad Palumbo takes on the craziest ideas on the internet, in media, and in politics. Brad covers stories you won't hear about in mainstream media, from social media trends landing some young people in jail, to the progressive media darling whose public meltdown got her fired, to the TikTok boycott against Target that makes no sense. He also pushes back on far-left extremism in the LGBT community from the perspective of a moderate gay man. But Brad also isn't afraid to disagree with the GOP or push back on far-right commentators who take things too far. Listen to Brad versus Everyone on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I don't even know. How long has it been around? I don't even think it was an option when I got sober.
So this is the crazy thing. This has been FDA approved for alcohol use disorder for 31 years.
Wow.
This drug was developed in the 1960s. It was initially developed by DuPont for use for opioid use disorder.
Right.
And it was pretty effective. But the thing about naltrexone is whether you're using it for opioids or for alcohol, or for other things, this is still being studied, but there's some indications that it can be effective for things like gambling, behavioral addictions that like have a big endorphin release. This isn't going to work for like kind of like the down and out drunk on the street. This takes like highly motivated people who can take their pill. And there is a drug called Vivitrol, which is a shot. So Vivitrol, it's naltrexone. Naltrexone is generic. It's very cheap as in the oral form. The pill Vivitrol is expensive and it's a shot, but it lasts for a month. So Vivitrol can be effective for people who have adherence issues, who can't trust themselves to actually take the medication every time that they do it. Because you've got to be really strict. Like I didn't do it 100% of the time. There were a couple of occasions when for whatever reason, I didn't take the pill. I left it somewhere, but it was a handful. It was like a couple of occasions. I was 99% compliant. But so this has been around for a long time. The thing is, I didn't know about it until I happened across this article. You'd never heard of it. Most people don't know about it. Even doctors don't know about this.
I had heard of it like in early sobriety. I heard people coming because you hear about it in AA when people but I had heard about it even when I got sober, like from opioids when I was 19. I feel like there was some version of something like that people talked about, and it could have been naltrexone for all I know. I don't remember. But it was never talked about in regards to alcohol. So there was like a lot of talk about this around opioid addiction.
Yeah.
And then I heard about people coming out, like trying it, and then they'd end up back in the rooms and they'd be like, I was still getting drunk on it. It didn't work for me.
You can still get drunk on the pill, but what you do, and this is key. So it takes a particular opioid receptor to be effective. If you don't have this opioid receptor, it's called the mu40, whatever. I don't remember the details, but it's probably not going to work for you. And about 25% of people lack that opioid receptor. So some people have absolutely no effect on it at all.
Is it because of genetics or because they just shot that receptor?
It's genetics.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as I know. And so some people it's going to have zero effect on them.
Right.
About 25% of people won't feel any different. But you can still, even for people who it does work for, you can still get drunk on the pill. What you don't get is buzzed. So it's like you get the body, like the body effects of drinking, but not the brain and mind effects. So you don't get the euphoria, you don't get the high. It doesn't feel fun, but you can still be stumbly. So it makes getting drunk like, it's not like Antabuse where it's going to make you sick if you drink. It just makes it kind of boring. Like I've heard it described as drinking with a condom on.
Because that's funny. There is a pill for people who don't know Antabuse. There are pills that make you sick when you drink.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people take those to inhibit their drinking. Yeah. And so, but again, that relies on taking a pill. Yeah.
And for that reason, this isn't going to work for a certain percentage of the population who are just not going to be compliant.
Yeah. So even like bipolar, where they're not even taking meds because for similar reasons, and then they're using alcohol to medicate their bipolar. It's definitely, I've seen people in the rooms who are kind of that faction.
Yeah. That's why. So in a situation like that, that's why something like Vivitrol would be more helpful. Vivitrol is harder to get. It's way more expensive than the pill, but still most insurance covers it. You got to get a big shot in the butt. I've never done it, but apparently it's pretty painful. But for compliance issues, Vivitrol can be better. But so when naltrexone was first developed for use for opioid use disorder at the time was mostly, you know, heroin and morphine. The studies found that the population that did really well on this was like surgeons and doctors and pilots, nurses, people who needed to have all of their mental faculties to do their job, because you can't take methadone and go operate on somebody or go fly a plane. But this doesn't have any psychoactive effects. But we're talking about a population that is highly motivated, that has other forms of support, you know, social support, they have jobs. So it's just, you know, the population that like suffers from alcohol abuse is vast.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain things that will make this work for people. This is why I wrote the book, was because I wanted a guide. When I was doing this, I wanted to know what to expect on day 1, month 1. It's deceptively simple. Like, you take a pill, you wait an hour, you drink, but there's all sorts of like habit change things. You got to find ways to fill your time. It's more complex than it sort of seems at face value. But anyway, the big thing that I learned was like, this is going to work well for some populations, and it's just not going to work for other populations. Like everything else, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing about sobriety. And we talked about this the other night when we did an episode of Sobriety on Real America, my other show. Just my husband and I, who met in recovery, it's like people don't generally understand, if they've never had to get sober, that there's getting sober and then living sober. And living sober is like a completely different skill set than getting sober, because getting sober is just getting over the cravings, getting over those like hand to mouth, like, you know,
the fixations
and whatever routines and rituals you have around things. Though that initial getting sober, when you actually, I always have said, like, living sober is way harder than getting sober. Getting sober is hard, but then once you get sober and get to living sober, I've found that's even harder, because like you said, the days are just interminably long when you first get sober. You end up filling them up and becoming a crazy person in different ways, but it first, like you said, you just have to, a lot of it, I feel like the reason a lot of people fail with naltrexone, and my husband, who has worked in recovery, worked with this population, worked with this drug, and is now a therapist, was saying you still can't avoid habit changing.
That's a huge part of it. The habit change is huge.
So many people fail there, you know, just like, even if he's like, it's great too, because a lot of the time you need therapy, but you can't even start therapy until you're sober. So it's good to help you get to that point where you can be sober enough to start therapy, to start working on the things that underpin whatever your addiction might be. Or maybe you're just like me, love drinking.
I mean, I think that, you know, I think that's one of I'm anticipating that this is one of the questions I'm going to get a lot about the book is, well, what about the other stuff? You know, people don't drink because they drink because of trauma, or because of they drink because there's something else. And that's not my experience. Like, I don't drink because I had trauma. I drank because I have a genetic predisposition. I come from a long line of Irish Catholic alcoholics. I started drinking young, and I did it a lot. And it's a pretty simple formula. And yes, it is obviously true that a lot of people have underlying issues that they need to work on. And I would argue that it's a lot easier to work on those issues when you're not tied to a bottle. And so naltrexone or whatever it is can help with that. But I think that and I talked to a lot of people for my book who were in the same position. Yes, some people do have underlying issues, but I don't. I mean, I'm just like, I just don't. And I think it's hard for people to believe. But for me, my problem wasn't trauma or depression or anxiety. It was that I really like to drink, and I did it so much I got addicted.
And if you start young too, your brain, it just messes with your brain chemistry.
Part of it. Huge part of it. I mean, I had my first drink when I was 12 years old, and from the very beginning, I like to get fucked up. I really like to get fucked up, you know? And I don't anymore, and it's fine.
What was the most surprising thing that you learned? I missed drinking last night for the first time in a while. And it's because I had insomnia. And I just couldn't turn my brain off. And I remembered, I was like, oh, I used to drink so much. It still kind of baffles me that people just put themselves to sleep. Even 11 years in, I still, my husband, Jaron, he's like, you still just pass out. Like, you don't like have a bedtime routine. You still sometimes fall asleep with your makeup on. He's like, why are you
sleeping like an
still living
alcoholic.
like a drunk?
Yeah.
And it's like, I still am baffled by the idea that people just go to bed and like peacefully drift to sleep and not pass out. I don't. And when I can't pass out, whatever it takes, I like last night I was like, oh, this is so much of why I drank was to like shut my brain off.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm wondering so one thing that I learned a lot in the course of writing this book, but one of the things that I learned that was the most interesting. So there's a researcher named Joe Volpicelli. He used to be at Penn. And he was one of the researchers. He's also a clinician, but he was one of the researchers whose work was instrumental in getting Naltrexone FDA approved 30 years ago. So he's done a fuck ton of research on this drug. And he told me to like oversimplify. There's two types of drinkers. There's reward drinkers and there's relief drinkers.
Mm-hmm.
And reward drinkers, I was a reward drinker. I got high from alcohol. It was almost like doing cocaine. You know, I got energized. I became really social. I was fun. No inhibitions. That's the sort of drinker that I was. And for that population, people like me, naltrexone can work really well. But for relief drinkers like the sedating effect. They drink for maybe they've got social anxiety, maybe trouble sleeping. They don't want the high. They don't get the high.
What about
they get
both?
Calmed. And there are people who
why not both? Because I was looking for sweet relief, but I also loved the high effect from it.
Yeah, that complicates things even further because there are also people who are both. Anyway, that's interesting. And there are other drugs that like even if you really have terrible social anxiety, beta blockers. I take beta blockers for public speaking. I could like sing the national anthem. I'm a terrible singer, but I could like sing the national anthem at Madison Square Garden and I wouldn't like sweat at all because this drug like just kills my adrenaline response.
Right.
And there's no like negative side effects. It's a very safe medication. So there are different anyway, for that population, for like purely relief drinkers, a drug like naltrexone probably isn't going to work.
That's interesting too. Like I've thought about beta blockers because I didn't realize that I had stage fright until I got sober when I was doing stand-up comedy. And even now there will be, I get really excited to go on stage most of the time, but there will be sets where I'm insanely nervous and my nerves will get in my way.
Yes.
And I can feel the fear on my face before I even go out. And I know the audience is going to sense it.
Yeah.
And sometimes
it's like such a physical manifestation of fear, like the shaky voice and the shaky hands.
Yep. And I sometimes feel like I should take beta blockers, but then I'm like, yeah, but what fun is that? Like
it does kind of kill the fun.
I'm getting high off the adrenaline and I know it. So I'm like, the downside, I'm like, mostly I've found that if I eat enough protein in the day, I can offset that. Something I had no idea about. I was like, holy shit. So much of my anxiety in my life might just be the fact that I have not been eating enough protein.
Interesting. Do you drink caffeine?
I do, but like my I haven't had anxiety in a while, and then I'd get kind of bad stage fright, and if I didn't eat and got really bad stage fright, I would blank. Like those are the only times I blanked, and like sometimes hormonally whatever was going on, like day before my period when things were kind of bottoming out, but. What I did notice when I have this Caliber app that we started sponsoring us, and I have a coach and she started putting me on weight routines, but then also just upping my protein, which is like the kind of meme now. It's like protein. But truly, it was one of the most life-changing things that has ever happened to me like on a chemical mental level.
Yeah. How are you getting it? It's like walking 10,000 steps and getting 100 grams.
It's insane.
It's like it takes all day to like just get that shit done.
All day. And she's like, you've got to, it's like 10,000 steps and like weights and fucking 100 grams of protein. I try to get most of it. She's smart. She's like front load as much as you can. So generally when I'm like on the beam with really paying attention to this, which again, it's just like I hate even having to focus on this shit.
Yes.
But I'll eat like a turkey scramble with cottage cheese and or yogurt, and then I can get like a lot of it, and then I'll have a protein heavy, like my husband will pre-make a bunch of burgers and we'll just have like a burger patty, or I'll make I'll like roast chicken breasts or do shredded chicken in the slow cooker and put some of that. My like favorite lunch that I could eat every day is this it's like a chipotle shredded chicken, so like chicken tacos, and I put it on half of a sweet potato with some cheese and then yogurt, and so I'll just like try to get as much as I can throughout the day early. But truly, like a turkey scramble with cheese or like cottage cheese on the side, you can get, you know, a lot of it right there.
Yeah. Are you low carb too?
Not really, because I bake sourdough, and I've just been bad. Like it's one of those things where I hate that I'm at an age now where I'm like, oh, I have to live like this forever. In the same way that I changed my habits around drinking and then was like, I can't drink. I never wanted to drink normally. It was not, I'm very much relate to what you said. Like one drink, there's this delusion of like, I just miss having a glass of wine. It's like I fucking never wanted a glass of wine. Like
it doesn't taste good. You're all lying to yourselves. It's like it's fucking drink have some juice.
It's if you're a normal drinker, it's amazing.
Totally different.
I completely don't think anyone should ever quit drinking unless they absolutely have to. Because I did love drinking and I miss the taste. I loved the taste of beer and I love champagne and oysters, and like I love a good glass of wine, and had traveled all over the world and did a lot of that and got it out of my system, and I'm grateful that I did, because I did it. Like I had all that stuff. So
you did it all at once instead of spreading it out over 80 years. Just get it all done when you're young. You reach your maximum capacity young in life.
So now I feel like the same way around like food and all that stuff, where if I have a sweet tooth and I generally will want to like eat popcorn late at night or something like that. And I love truly, like I don't really have that bad of a sweet tooth, but when I binge on sweets, it's like I want to eat just gummy bears, you know? Like it's just
you need high protein gummy bears, or just like gummy vitamins.
Yeah, exactly.
Just need a fuck ton of vitamins.
My husband's like, you're such an addict. He's like, I can't, he has to like hide the Altoids from me because I'll eat like a whole fucking tin of Altoids just as candy. Like my kid is like, what are those candies you're eating? And Jaren's like, they're not candies. Your mom eats them like candy. And I was like, it would be so bad if I went back to drinking. He's like, I've seen the way you are with Altoids like at night. So I can't imagine if you started drinking or gummy bears or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things. Like I'm actually talking to Amy Alcon today too, and I was like, oh, alcoholism and menopause, my two favorite things.
Yeah.
But so much of it does change when I'm going to be 47 this year.
Yeah.
And I just remember my aunt sitting on the beach and talking to us when we were like in our teens and bopping around looking at our like perfect bouncy asses and tits.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
You're gonna like when middle age comes, it's not gonna be the same. And we were like, whatever, you old alcoholics.
I know.
You just drink too much.
Yeah. Which was also probably true. But
well, true, but also we always joke now, my sisters and I were like, the aunt's prophecy has become true.
Dude, I can't remember the last time I've gone a day without hearing the term perimenopause. It's like, it's such a, I'm not even totally sure I believe in it, but
I think it's just a branding thing.
Yeah,
I'm like convinced of it. You know, the like John Hamm meme where it's like perimenopause, like that, and we'll call it perimenopause.
I would like to know who Perimenopause's publicist is. I would like to hire Perimenopause's publicist.
Yes, like whoever Hale's publicist was in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it is the fucking aging thing though. It's weird. I'm like, I've reached the point now where like I'm 42. Although I just realized this. I thought I've spent the last year thinking I was 41. And I actually had an AI. I like put in my birthday and said, how old am I the other day? Just shocking revelation. But I've reached the point now where like I'll see people I haven't seen in a long time, like people I haven't seen since college, and I see them and I'm like, damn, you got old. And then I'm like, they're thinking the exact same thing about me. This is upsetting.
Yeah,
like,
aging.
Yeah.
Not for sissies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like best case scenario. That's the worst part.
No, exactly. You have to be grateful. And I was talking to Megan Dom, and we were talking about how like at our age, all we get on Instagram is like facelift videos.
Dude, yeah. I saw Ricky Lake's neck lift video the other day, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. But this is what I figured out. If I do all of my press just right here, nobody can see me from here down. Just from I'm
so
just
when you
like
get
I'm
the
just
work,
like the top
no
of
one
my
will
head.
notice.
Well, maybe I won't have to get it because no one's gonna see my neck. That's my plan.
That's really funny. Yeah. I also had no intention of aging on camera. Like, and this is something Megan and I were talking about. We're like, we were writers.
Yes. Yes.
We were writers.
This is not supposed to happen. Yeah.
I've been just like in a writing K-hole lately working on something, and my husband's like, I can always tell when you're like really hyper focused on writing more than anything because you just like stop shaving and go feral.
Yeah.
Like,
that's my life anyway. The only reason I ever shave is if I'm going to see my mother-in-law. Like people talk about the male gaze, has no effect on me. The mother-in-law gaze though.
Yeah.
I have to get out like the electric shaver that we use on moose to do my legs once a year when I know I'm going to be playing pickleball with my mother-in-law and wearing shorts.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You've all heard me screaming women for years now, and I'm a big advocate for women in general and women's health in particular. That's why I love Quest's line of medical tests specifically focused on women's health issues. They offer a basic women's health profile test that gives you a snapshot of your current health and wellness, women's hormone tests designed to identify imbalances associated with various health conditions, and specific tests for fertility, thyroid function, and even your menopause stage. This is all such important knowledge for women to have because it can affect the way you work out. It can affect what you should be eating. And just now they're starting to really realize how much all of these hormones play into us losing weight, keeping bone density. All of this information is so important to you. Your results are delivered online quickly and discreetly, and you get all of this information without a doctor's visit. Ladies, prioritize your health. Visit questhealth.com today. Use the code Phetasy to get 25% off and find answers to the multitude of health questions you may have. That's questhealth.com and use code Phetasy for 25% off. What was the most surprising thing you learned in doing your research about this book?
So the most surprising thing I learned wasn't in the research as much as it was the experience, which is I spent my entire adult life thinking that alcohol was a big part of my identity and thinking that life without alcohol was going to be, it was like not even going to be awful. It was unimaginable. I could not imagine life without drinking. And what I have found, genuinely the most surprising thing is that life is really pleasurable without drinking. And I genuinely like to like go to parties and dinner parties and not drink. And I could not imagine that. You know, even 5 years ago, I could not imagine. Like I'd never been to a dinner party sober. I'd never done anything sober. And I find that the things that I thought I would be unable to do, like have a conversation with somebody, I can do that. And it doesn't cause me anxiety. I always thought that I had social anxiety. I don't have social anxiety. I would sort of like use that as an excuse to drink before every particular occasion. It turns out I don't, or at least I don't now. I think it was the alcohol was like just giving me heightened anxiety because I was always going through withdrawal and then saturating my brain with booze. It just had like the widespread effects of drinking. And then just, you know, small things like when I get a bill now in the mail, I pay it right away. I like, I'm not scared to open my mail anymore. Yeah. I open up the envelope, I take it out, I get on my computer, I log in and I pay the fucking bill. And all of that shit, just like, you know, a light bulb would burn out in my house and I wouldn't change it for 6 months because that even small tasks just seems so insurmountable when I was drinking and all that stuff. Honestly, sometimes it feels like like sobriety is a cheat code. And it's not as though I don't have problems. I still do, for sure. And I still have various anxieties and I still have problems. I still have to get my fucking 10,000 steps every day. I'm pissed about it. I don't get enough protein.
Do you smoke weed?
I do, but I smoke in a way. So for most of my life, I was a heavy pothead. Yeah. Super heavy pot. Like, if I had to go to the grocery, if I had to get in the car and drive, I'm smoking weed in the car. I'm like I was a wake and baker, and now I smoke probably once a week. I have a hit off of a vape pen, or like I prefer like a water bong with ice in it, because like honestly my lungs can't handle it anymore. And then I'll take I used to. If I was going to do edibles, it would have to be like 50 milligrams or up. Like I'm like got like a face full of candy just to feel anything. And my tolerance is really low now. So if I'm going to do edibles, I'll usually do 5 milligrams, and that knocks me out. So I do smoke, but I do consume it, but I do it on such a smaller level that it kind of doesn't feel like a part of my life anymore. Which was also, and that wasn't intentional. I never like set out to quit smoking weed or to like moderate my weed use. It just happened.
Do you think it's part of the Naltrexone?
I think it's part of it. And I think it's also just lifestyle. Like I don't like getting fucked up anymore.
Yeah.
I just not that, like when I smoke weed now, I tend to get a little paranoid.
Yeah.
And not in a way that's like debilitating or anything like that. I'm not going to have a panic attack. And there's some utility, like, I'll think of things. It's a very cerebral experience. I'll maybe have ideas that I wouldn't have sober, and I write them down. And I'm like, this is brilliant. And then the next day I look at them like, you're a fucking idiot.
Right. That's how I feel about all my years of weed smoking, where I really thought I was brilliant and then got sober and was like, you were a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a like much smaller part of my lifestyle. And I feel good about not doing it. Like it's kind of like a little game, like,
yeah.
We went on vacation recently, and I didn't like do any weed on vacation. I'm like, oh, I can do that. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't do anything sober. Like, and I used to joke, like, what's the point of doing it if you have to do it sober? It was like not worth doing to me. I always had jobs that like didn't require me to I could wait tables blacked out. And so I wasn't like, they were compatible with my lifestyle of drinking and smoking weed.
Yes.
But weed, I think, was my true love. Yeah. I mean, I love drinking too. I love them both, but weed was really the thing that toward the end, though, it just got so strong. I felt like it was turning me. Honestly, it felt like I was becoming like schizophrenic. Like I felt like I was fucking with my brain chemistry. It was so strong. Even 11 years ago when I quit, and I had been smoking for so many years, daily smoker, regularly. And it took me like 2 full years, I think, to really it was tough on my brain, more hard on my brain coming off weed, I think, than alcohol. I'm sure it was all of it. What
about cigs?
So I started smoking in sobriety. I smoked cigarettes on and on. I always used to be like, I only smoke when I drink, which was
it's like
literally every day.
All the time. Yeah.
So fucking the dumbest thing.
That was like one of the reasons I started during COVID, and I started like drinking super early, because I only smoked when I drank. So it's like, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. I want a cigarette. I'm going to fucking drink. It's very, very smart thinking.
So I started smoking, in sobriety, and I was so mad at myself, and it started with one cigarette after a meeting. I was like, I can have a cigarette. And then I was in Ireland. It was 2016, right before the election. I was there in UK for like Brexit, a number of other reasons, and then ended up in Ireland. And we went out, and I couldn't drink, and I wanted to, and I just chain smoked. And the next morning I felt like such shit. My lungs felt like an ashtray. And I was like, I'm done. That's it. And I'm definitely like, wake up, make up my mind, rip the Band-Aid off, and have never smoked since, and will not even entertain the idea that I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's weird. I'll be in a situation even here because there's a lot more smoking loosely, like inside places
Inside?
in Texas. Yeah,
You
it's
can
like
still
the
smoke inside?
fucking 90s sometimes.
Wow.
Not you. I don't know that you can, but like sometimes there will be around whatever, and it's and I'll go home and like smell, and my hair will smell, and I'm like, oh God, I used to come home every night like this, and it's disgusting. And I don't. There might be moments where I'm like, oh, that looks kind of good, but I just know that I'll be off and running.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I have to be a little bit, and I don't want to be, I agree with like everything in moderation, including moderation, but I'm like a psychopath. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't, moderation is not something I'm very friendly with.
Are you, so there, I follow these like sobriety influencers who are mostly guys who got super into fitness after they got sober.
Yeah, I wish.
And they're like, use that energy, use that addictive nature to get super into lifting. And I'm like, how? How do I channel? Because what I like to do is sit around and talk and scroll and drink. That's what I like to do. That doesn't really translate to go to the gym and lift heavy things. I mean, I do that because I have to, but I've never been able to and I think maybe it's just honestly just like testosterone that I don't have any or don't have enough. I'm going to get on that next. That's the plan.
I know, me too. Yeah. I was thinking about this because I was like, why couldn't I have been one of those people that was like, I'm going to get sober and become a marathon runner?
Yeah.
And it just wasn't I'm injury prone in sports. And so my whole life I've been like, even with that, it feels like fits and spurts. Like I'll be going really hard and then I'll get injured. And so even finding a way to being sustainable and working out has been challenging to me. And then before I ever got sober, I was teaching yoga, and I was like obsessively doing yoga because of course. And that was like a woman of my time. And I was teaching and running around and doing it. And then I injured my shoulder, drunk, actually trying to break into my place. And I couldn't do yoga, and it was like, holy shit, like all this, I had been using yoga addictively. Like I'm like, what am I using addictively right now? Even just yesterday, I was joking with a friend when we got dinner, because he and we have a long history of just struggling with things. And I was like, I've been joking like, well, I've tried sex, I've tried drugs, I've tried yoga and working out. Now I'm gonna try wealth. Like, I need to get addicted to wealth.
Yeah, you're gonna end up a crypto trader,
like yeah, exactly, or like a gambling addict.
Yeah.
But it is like I don't know. I find that there's always a part of me that's, because I've had those experiences of things bottoming out or getting injured or whatever, that I'm like, oh, is this just am I just like using this as a coping mechanism? Is this my current addiction? What's your current addiction?
I don't have one. I mean, I have the way that well, no, that's not true. It's my dog.
Okay.
That's like my unhealthy, like I spend so much time, and like from the outside, people probably would be like, this is unhealthy. I spend so much of the day like making sure that Moose has a fantastic life, and there wouldn't be anything wrong with that, because that all, like, making sure that he has a fantastic life also means that I have a fantastic life, because I also like to walk on the beach and go swimming and paddleboard and shit like that. But as you know, dogs don't live that long.
No.
So that's the thing that sort of keeps me up at night, is like the knowledge that my dog will someday die.
Yeah.
I could start crying just fucking thinking about it. He's 5.5. I do have I'm like getting him, like he's going to get blood work this week. There's nothing wrong with him, but I'm like, I just need to know. I just need to get that blood work done. So I am like hyper focused on him, which is sort of like very like I'm a childless lesbian who loves her dog too much. But other than that, like the only other thing that I sort of do in excess is work. And before, like when I was actively drinking, I didn't like work. work was like getting in the way of my drinking. I wanted to do my work and then stop working so that I could drink. And now, so that's what I spend my drinking hours I spend working now. And I happen to really like my job. If I was still like working for other people, I would probably be miserable, but I'm in a position now where I'm like only do the work that I want to do. And, I enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I don't know. I think I'm addicted to podcasts. Like I just keep starting new podcasts.
Not listening to them, starting them.
Yeah. Like I need to start a new podcast every 6 months or I'm not satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about like the younger generation just not drinking?
I think so. In a way, I think it's good because alcohol is so damaging, and I think it's, there's so many parts of the world where alcohol is just not a part of the culture, and people still manage to have a good time. Like I'm really into Mormon influencers. There's this group that not like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, but there's this group of Mormons who all like went to BYU, Hawaii. They're all hot as hell. They all have kids when they're 23, get married at 20, kids at 21 or 22, 23. And they don't drink coffee. They do drink like Monster energy drinks, I think, but they don't drink coffee. They don't smoke. They don't do drugs. They don't drink alcohol. They definitely fuck. And I like follow these people and they have so much fun. And part of that is it's social media. Like a lot of it's just a farce, but this is a culture that still manages to have a good time without alcohol even being a second thought. And that's just not how I grew up. Everybody around me drank. And if you didn't drink, there was probably something wrong with you. Like that indicated something shameful. And that's just not how the world is. There's a lot of places in the world where people just don't drink. So I think like embracing the fact that you don't need alcohol or drugs to have a good time is great. The problem is that from the data that I've seen, it looks like they also aren't doing the other things that you should be doing to have a good time. Like they're not seeing each other in person. They're not having sex. Like, and obviously there are risks to things like sex, but it seems as though the reason they're not drinking is because they're spending most of their time alone on their phones. And that to me seems just like a recipe for dysfunction.
Right.
So if you could leave the alcohol, but still go and have parties and like do the things that young people are supposed to do, that would be great. But I was thinking about this the other day. Like when I was a kid, when I was 15.
I love it. Yeah, go on.
When I was 15 and my parents left me home alone for a weekend, and I didn't just have a party. I took their car and I drove their car around town to go buy alcohol with my fake ID when I was like. Everybody did shit like that.
You can't do it anymore.
You can't do that anymore because your parents all have a fucking ring cam.
Everybody in your neighborhood does.
Everybody in your neighborhood does.
Yep. We talked about this actually just on Dumpster Fire, and maybe it was I said somebody tweeted this, and maybe it was your tweet talking about this, and we were talking about it in regards to the people who were the like couple that went viral.
Oh,
and I was like, they tricked it. Like, we don't need Big Brother. They just tricked us into all being Big Brother for each other. I'm like, I used to do the same thing, take my dad's car, drive around. Now your neighbor would be like, hey, Freddie, did you know, know your daughter took your car and like post it? I was like, what? I mean, the way I was joking about it was like, what? You just can't go on a run and take your dick out anymore.
God,
just be able to
good
run
old days. This used to be a country.
This used to be a proper country.
Yeah.
You could go on a run and give your dick some air, and now you're a sex predator.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I think we have lost something with like living in a surveillance state that we've all opted into for sure. And I'm glad that I'm not growing up in that. Like I was texting with my nephew yesterday, who just turned 15, and I asked if he was doing driver's ed. He's doing it online. He's learning to drive on the fucking computer.
Wow.
I mean, presumably there will also be like an in-person portion. Presumably he will have to test drive a car at some point, but just shit like that.
Jaron and I talk about how our kid might not ever need to know how to drive.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Crazy. But why would she? Like driverless cars are truly taking over.
Yeah.
And it's a weird trade-off because we look at a lot of the boomers in our life who are getting self-driving cars, and it's of course the boomer, because it gives them the ability to still drive beyond when they probably should be driving.
It seems that's great, actually. That's like extending the amount of time that you have freedom in your life is great.
So I think it's, on the one hand, that is a benefit that I hadn't really considered, that I'm now seeing the effects of with a lot of people's parents in their life. They're just opting into self-driving cars because their brains are still there, their capacity is still there, they can still focus, but maybe at night they're not as good and their reflexes aren't as quick.
Right.
And so that you can really let the car take over for you and trust that it's crazy to think something like, I got my license the day after I turned 16.
Me too. Same thing. Although I failed the test the first time, so
Me
it was
too,
the next
'cause I'm a girl. I would have got it on my 16th birthday, but I failed because I'm a girl.
Same.
I talked to so many females and they're like, "Yeah, I failed the first time." They're like, "Women are worst drivers."
I'm a bad driver. My wife is a great driver, but I'm a bad driver.
No,
she drives like a man.
I am. I'm a good driver. I blame the fact that I was in Minnesota and it snowed and I couldn't see that it was a one-way. Like, the sign was halfway covered in snow, and so I turned into the wrong lane. It was like quite a minor infraction.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I hit anything or couldn't parallel park. It was just there had been a fucking blizzard the night before. And then I went to the Cranberries concert and fell asleep and felt sad for myself.
That's a quintessential 16th birthday.
Yes, in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is something like there is that weird trade-off, and some of it too is not that they're just sitting at home getting like their dopamine. There does seem to be this kind of obsessive optimization culture that I'm wondering when I'm hoping the backlash will come sooner than later. Like, where's the backlash to all these dipshits who do everything perfectly?
Yeah.
Well, it seems just like that optimization, like, we're gonna optimize. Like, it is bad for you. I don't think people realize until they actually study the effects of alcohol, like how bad it is for you. Maggie told me that she did some like drugs and alcohol class in college, and the teacher said if alcohol was released today, it wouldn't even make it to market because of how poisonous, like especially hard alcohol, because of how poisonous your body just is like, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything you didn't know about alcohol when you were doing this book?
I mean, I learned a ton. I learned about how it works. I have immediately forgotten it, but like what the specific process of once it enters your body. So that stuff was all interesting. And then a lot of the learning was just like talking to people about their experiences and seeing commonalities, but also seeing just how vastly different people's experiences are. Like one thing that I never had, and I'm grateful for this, is I never had like DT hallucinations. And I talked to a woman who did, she's an interesting woman. She's a real estate agent in Reno, and she was a hardcore alcoholic, tried everything that she could do to get sober, was like in and out of detox all the time and could not quit drinking. And Naltrexone did work for her. It took a couple of years, and it can take a while for people. It did eventually work for her, but she would tell me about these hallucinations that she would have that were just terrifying.
Wow.
You know, like devilish shit. So in some ways, I would talk to people and I think, well, I wasn't that bad after all.
What causes those hallucinations? Is it just withdrawal?
It's withdrawal. Yeah. And then another thing that I learned that I didn't know is that I was under the impression that detox is terrible. Like everybody's detox experience is bad. And that's just not true anymore, because you can go to a detox center or you can do this at home. And they give you, they pump you full of gabapentin.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And did you ever do detox?
Not like that. Yeah. No, I mean, when I first went into rehab, I was 19. I was in a psych ward, and I detoxed from heroin cold turkey and then went to a detox for like drugs and alcohol. And they were like, that was not the right place for them to put you. And you shouldn't have had to go through that because it's horrific and actually really bad for your brain. And then when I got sober this time, I was doing drugs and stuff and drinking. And I mean, toward the end, like I remember walking up to a table, it was the end of a shift, and I like started violently shaking, and I was like, oh shit, like this is getting bad.
Yeah.
And then my table was like, I think you need one of these too, honey. Like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And then I just went and did a shot to like take the edge off. But that's when I was like, whoa, it really does affect your nervous system in ways that are. And my anxiety started getting like debilitatingly bad.
Yes.
And so a lot of the stuff that I thought I was using drugs and alcohol to manage was actually caused by drugs and alcohol.
Right.
And the weed was making me a lot more paranoid, and kind of I felt like weirdly, it wasn't just comedy, but weirdly Twitter was one of the things that got me sober, because I had been tweeting about how I was an alcoholic so many times, and at one point I looked and I was like, this like isn't cute anymore. Like, at what point can I look at all of these ones and zeros staring back at me and go, oh, I knew I had a problem because I'd been in rehab at 20 for drugs, for heroin, but like I knew like you, I had no illusion. I joked about how I was an alcoholic. I was literally joking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also found, as I kind of entered into the culture war, I was like, oh, this is going to be really fucking bad if I'm drinking and smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want any kind of, I didn't want any doubt about something that I said or did, or anything that could cast out on it for even myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted to know whatever stupid thing I said, I was staying in my right mind.
Mm-hmm. You really meant it.
I really needed to know that it was definitely, I couldn't blame it. It was like this kind of need to take responsibility across all areas of my life, financially, sobriety, but just also being able to stand behind what I said and say, okay, that was dumb. I disagree with my old version, whatever it was, but I can't be like, I was drunk, I was high.
Yeah.
Like, high is more insidious because you'll be like, I was high when I said that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I really don't miss, is like looking back through the text messages or the tweets the next day.
Being like a detective.
Yeah.
Where you're like, what did drunk Bridget do last night?
Yeah.
No, it's bad. I mean, I shouldn't really be alive. So like, I can laugh at it now, but sometimes I'll tell stories and people will be like, Jesus Christ, Bridget. Like, we've had to like memory hole a couple of podcast interviews that I've done that were just, it was like me oversharing way too much, that my cousin, thank God, was like, I don't think the normie population, A, needs to have access to this information, and B, will think it's quite as hilarious as you and your fucked up guest.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that you have Jamie there to regulate, but how do you decide like that? I mean, that was one thing.
It's very rare.
Yeah. Like one thing about writing the book that I'm still like haven't quite reckoned with, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, is like just sort of the embarrassment of like laying it all out there. Not because I care about strangers reading it, but like I'm afraid my parents are going to read it, and I like I haven't like reconciled that myself with that, other than to tell myself like maybe they'll never find out.
Why don't you talk to them about it first, though?
I mean, they know the book is, they obviously know that a book is coming out, but I told them like I told them after I got the book deal and after I'd written the book. I like dreaded telling them
that you were writing that.
Yes. Or that,
I mean, they you're being like open about things.
They didn't know anything. They were
know now.
They don't know what's in the book.
Right.
The backstory is that when I like realized that I was an alcoholic when I was in my early 20s, I'd gone through this like really nasty breakup, and I told my family, and then I told them that I started going to AA, and I told them that I was quitting drinking, and I never drank in front of my family again after that. And we never talked about it. And I never told them that I had actually started drinking like immediately. Like,
but have you told them this since?
They know now, But I think there's just this level of like, and the book isn't so like, I don't talk about sex in the book. That's like, I pretend that sex doesn't exist, which is probably to the detriment of the book, because there is like something that's a question that people have, like, can you fuck on Naltrexone? Honestly, like, good luck. Like, it's gonna take you a while. Don't recommend it. But I just have this like this, not really a sense of shame, but just like embarrassment about like kind of about the embarrassing shit that I say in the book. But I'm a writer, and my impulse to self-protect is weaker than my impulse to tell as good a story as possible.
Totally.
That's always going to be the top priority. Even if I end up humiliating myself, like, it's always got to be about the story. I can't change that about myself, but that is something that I'm grappling with. So I'm like very nervous about the book coming out. Like, my nightmare is that my in-laws read this book. I don't want them to read this fucking book.
So I would definitely give people that you're worried about the opportunity to read it before the rest of the world reads it, so that if they do have questions for you, you can answer them, because then if they have to answer questions from their friends and family, they have answers.
Okay, that's a good idea. That's so terrifying.
I know, but I would at least like, you don't want to be dealing with the book going out publicly and then the reaction to the book from the public as well as your family. I think if you have the opportunity to deal with the reaction from your family, which you do, you have a box of books sitting there. Then I would try and do that, because why not like face that first, and also then when people ask you these questions, like, what does your family think? You also have answers for those questions, but it does feel like that's what if I were in your position, that's what I would do.
Okay.
I would say, here's my book. You can read it. You cannot read it. You can do whatever you want with it. I'm giving you all an opportunity before it goes out to the public and your friends are asking you questions about it to ask me any questions you might have. And so you're not like finding out about this with the rest of the world.
All right. That's really good advice. I have to take that advice, but I'm so scared about it.
Of course, because those are the people you actually care about.
Right.
But that's why you owe them. It's like there's a handful of people whose opinion I actually give a shit about, and they're the people that I owe, as much as terrifying as that might be, I owe them the opportunity to find things out about me before the rest of the world finds out.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been fucked up if my family had found out that I was pregnant on Joe Rogan.
That would have been.
Like, it would have been awesome, but it still is like, there's, I think as you are somewhat of we're like mini public figures, like baby public figures. There's still you still have your circle of people that know who you are when you're cleaning up your dog's shit. They know that, Katie.
Yeah.
And they deserve the opportunity to like maybe know what's coming before I think the rest of the world. That's my feeling about it.
No, you're right. All right. I'm going to send them the book today.
Yeah.
I'll inscribe it.
They'll be excited. And by the way, it's going to make them feel special, as they should feel special, because they are the people that freaking mean something to you.
Yeah. 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 It feels like I don't know. It's like a weird double-edged sword where I'm like, I want the book to be a success, but also if it's not, then I like fewer people will know about like cheating on my girlfriend, not my wife, but like cheating on my girlfriend, or like the like dumb embarrassing shit that I did.
Yeah, but so many people have that. Like, no one's perfect. Everybody's got their skeletons. Anyone who's pretending they don't is.
I mean, it's not like I like Coldplay.
Yeah. It
could be way worse.
We were talking about that on the opening of this dumpster fire that's coming out tonight, actually. Like, we're like, imagine they thought the worst thing that could happen to them was that they got caught by their spouses. Yeah. And I'm Irish Catholic. Like, it can always get worse. This is like Joe DeRosa's new special. He's like, I'm Irish Catholic. Give it to me straight. I know that like the freaking, I'm going to die. I'm going to have dinner with my friends. He has this great bit about it, but I think you're somewhat similar in that respect, where just like, I would just expect it to fail and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But either way, you want that, those 12 people that you love to like know what's like coming first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's not comfortable.
No.
It's not. I deal with this even still randomly. Yeah, like all the time. I have weird reactions to the stuff I put out from family members, and yeah, there's this is I was saying this to Alana Newhouse on X today. Like the culture feels so disorienting right now, and I feel like I'm in Inception with no totem. There's like, and I think everybody feels like the walls are climbing. Like it just feels crazy. The left is going to the right, the right's going to left. Now they're inverting and going back, and everyone hates the Jews at the same time, and it's like it's fucking nuts. And I think people are withdrawing, but I do know what's real, and it's those people in my life that are the closest people to me and mean something to me, and they deserve everything first.
Yeah, you're right.
They deserve our best and our
God damn it.
and their first. I know. I always joke that I'm like the friend people call when they don't want to hear the thing.
Yeah.
They're like my friend called me the other day. She's like, "Should I do this?" I'm like, "The answer is no, because you're calling me."
You're calling. Yeah. When I told them
I'm going to tell you this is a bad idea.
When I told them about the book, it was like I told them at the last possible second. It was like I told them like right before it was announced. Like not only do I have to tell them that I was like drinking for the last 15 years. I wrote a fucking self-help book. How embarrassing. Self-help.
That's way more embarrassing to Irish Catholics than quitting drinking.
Exactly.
They're like, wow, this is like a double whammy.
Totally.
I do that joke about like how in our family growing up, we had like the one weird uncle who was in AA. It was like, that was the weird thing. You're like, oh God.
Yeah. But now the one thing that I do think has changed is the stigma around alcohol, and a lot of that is people coming out, the same way that homos did it, just like straight up admitting I have a problem. And the way that I drank and the way that you drank, obviously not normal in like the grand scheme, but like it actually was normal in my social circles when I was younger. It was completely normal.
Totally.
And so it was easy to like lose sight of that fact, like how abnormal it actually was. And then just over the last few years, the number of people I know who've gotten sober is really high. And it's also not surprising, because of course you had to get sober. Of course you had to quit drinking, because that's all we fucking did.
Yeah. I joke a lot about that too, being on the East Coast and then moving to the West Coast where everyone drinks like pussies. And I was like, oh, I'm maybe an alcoholic. Like,
compared to you fuckers.
I had no idea that people didn't drink just every day, all day, like everyone I know in New England. It's like, and it's such crabs in a bucket mentality in certain, friend circles like that. We're like, oh, you're gonna get sober. Oh, that's so
man.
cute.
Yeah. When I was like really in my like most active drinking years and people would get sober, man, I was so resentful of them. Just like mad, how fucking, it was about like a betrayal.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. I had my first writing job ever was a column in my small town, and the very first letter to any editor that I've ever received was from an anonymous member of AA telling me that I was doing like, why don't you just like do why it was like, I was talking about how there's nothing to do in our town but drink. And it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek, like very fun. I thought it was hilarious, and also accurate. But this person took a lot of offense to it and was like, why are you doing a dry drunk in public and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, and then the next letter to the editor that I ever received, handwritten, I still have them, was from Vickers Liquors, which was the local liquor store, thanking me for giving them a shout out in my column.
They should have sponsored you.
I was like, maybe I do have a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a long, I don't know. That was hard. It was hard. I didn't think I'd ever write again when I quit drinking.
Yeah.
Because I was definitely of the like right drunk, edit sober. I would edit stoned, but I would just get shit faced and
Yeah, that's
while
the
I wrote.
saying. Right drunk, edit stoned.
Yeah. That was my saying.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know. I'm glad. So how long has it been that you've been abstinent or whatever you call it?
3
Whatever.
years.
You held sober?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not technically sober because I still smoke weed sometimes, but I call it. I just with weed, I don't think I have a problem with weed.
Yeah.
And for sure for years I definitely did. But it's just it's like such a like minor part of my life now that I don't really think about it. So it's been 3 years, and I do realize there's this like. It's like pretty hubristic to write like a get sober book with just 3 years in. I totally realized that. And I was talking to Sarah Heppola about it. And she said, well, what else would we do if we're with all this time? And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to I'm not even going to worry about that. You're right. No. What else would we do? We got plenty of time now.
But by the way, even if you were to start drinking again alcoholically and went all crazy and whatever, like you still cobbled this together and it worked for you, and it's still it is still an alternative path other than the one that's presented, which I think more and more people actually are prescribed this drug now. It's like actually a lot more common even in the past couple of years from people that I'm hearing from. So I think, but like you said, it's not all really put in one place, like in a nice self-help book where like there's a manual for AA, it's a pretty clear, like, here's how to do this.
Yeah, that's just, and like a lot, when I was doing this, I got a lot of information from like Facebook and YouTube and from talking to people who were also in Reddit, a lot of people who were doing this, like not from my doctor. I mean, that was kind of the crazy thing, is that I was legitimately getting better information from Reddit and Facebook and this was during COVID, like getting health information from Facebook, but it was better.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, what I wanted was something easy, a manual, which is why I ended up writing the book, because that didn't really exist yet. And I mean, I guess it's like always possible that I'll start drinking again. If I do, I hope to God I do it with Naltrexone. And I think writing the book is kind of a little bit more of like a public promise. I don't want to fuck that up. But I kind of can't see myself doing it because I don't like it. I just I don't like it. And maybe, if my wife died or something, if I had some like horrific trauma, maybe I would turn to booze. But I have just come to the point where like I have realized that alcohol it's such a Band-Aid when something goes wrong.
What do you think about the idea presented in AA that's like it's a spiritual malady? Have you had to like fill a God-sized hole in your sobriety?
I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the soul even. I think that's just so far. And that was one of the things about AA that kind of drove me away. Like, how many of the steps mention God?
Mm-hmm.
Like at least half of them, right? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3. I think
one doesn't.
One doesn't? Okay.
I don't think
2,
so.
3.
2, 3 do.
4 does not.
4 does not.
5 does.
5 is, 5 does.
I don't know 6 and 7. 8, 9 do not.
No one ever pays any attention to 6 and 7.
So that is such a huge part of it. And I know
11 does.
And like that's, you obviously, like I've gone to, even recently I've gone to atheist and AA, or like atheist and agnostic AA meetings, because I see a lot of value in AA in terms of just like a place to go. And honestly, like, here's some great stories. I like AA now. I fucking hated AA when I was like actively trying to get sober.
Yeah.
Now that I am sober, I like it. It's honestly like, it's kind of entertaining.
Wait, 2 doesn't have it. It's power greater than ourselves.
Okay, I think that kind of. I think that.
Not God though. They specifically, like, if you read the big book, there's one of the stories that talks about the person who really pushed for that to happen, and like thank God that somebody was like, no, can we have it be like God or whatever we think is God? Because for me it was dogs when I first got sober.
Yeah. So I don't know, I don't really have a spiritual side. I think that my life has improved in so many ways that I still, I have like anxiety about dying and things like that. And I don't know that that's ever going to change. Like, I really wish that I had I wish I was a believer, because my wife, she was raised fundamentalist Christian and her parents are believers and they are looking forward to death. Like her grandma's 100 years old and she is like so excited to die and see her husband again and her son again and her friends again.
She's 100?
100, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd be excited to die too.
Yeah, she drinks beer and eats fucking Cheetos and she's lived to be 100. No, she's and like my grandmas were excited to die because they were going to see their loved ones again, and I just don't have any of that, and I don't think there's any way I will ever have that unless I had some like sort of near death experience that convinced me that there was something beyond me, but that's just so foreign to my way of I was raised by atheists. My parents were religious, but never been to church in my life. I did go to Jen and I went to a Catholic wedding in Costa Rica and I took communion just to make her laugh. No, I shouldn't have done that, but it was in Spanish. And I was bored. So it's really not a part of my life. And I understand that for a lot of people who get sober, the spiritual aspect is really meaningful, and AA can be just such a good community for that, but it's not a part of my life.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying, I know a lot of people who got sober like in church. They didn't do AA. They went to church and got sober.
Yeah.
So there's many paths, and it's great that you are presenting another one, and don't let anybody tell you need freaking X amount. Like Russell Brand basically repackaged all the steps and sold them. So
yeah, he's trying to avoid some reputational damage for other things. At least I've never assaulted anyone, even at my worst.
So what's your biggest defect of character?
Besides the amount of time I spend on my phone? I'm kind of mean. I mean, I focus it on, I think, a deserving person, which is my co-host Jesse Single.
Yes.
But I'm extremely judgmental. I'm a huge fucking gossip. I love gossip. I love it. That's my drug. Although I'm like out of the loop. I'm not in any good group chat, so I'm not getting the good gossip. But yeah, there's definitely room for self-improvement, but I find myself just so much happier and so much more responsible, and all of that, the downstream effects of sobriety, like showing up for people, being a good friend and a good neighbor and a good daughter and a good spouse, all of that. It really wasn't possible when I was actively drinking.
Yeah, I feel that. That's been probably the greatest gift. I always think of my friend who was like my mentor and kind of Eskimo into the program, and he's always like asks his sponsees how are they doing, and they'll be like obsessed with themselves, and then I'll be like, how is everyone around you doing? And because we were talking about being dry and how you can be dry and like everyone around you will be suffering and you'll be like, I'm fine, everything's fine. It's like, and you're like being hard on everyone around you. That's when I get like, when I know I'm pretty dry, when I'm start like being hard on the people around me that I love.
Yeah.
What is your biggest asset?
God. Definitely not God.
It would be amazing if that was your answer.
Podcast. It's obviously my podcast. I don't know. I think I'm you know what it is actually? I think I'm humble in terms of what I know and what I don't know. I'm like very aware that I don't know a lot. And I'm like very open to the fact that I could be wrong about everything.
Yep. I know that feeling very well. This is something my husband and I talk about a lot, and I don't know if it's from being an addict and getting sober. Just like the lies I told myself, the lies that I know I'm capable of telling to other people, the lies that I believed about things that fell apart when I got sober that were truths that I held up about myself. My whole idea of who I was built on things that were nothing. It's like, how do I know I'm not doing that now?
Yeah. I think it's like, for me, it comes from being canceled. You know, it's like, it sort of makes you evaluate everything and like realize that a lot of the shit that you thought was true was not true.
Yep. Well, I love you. I'm glad you're sober.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just like, I have no complaints at all. I'm so busy. I love making stuff. That's like my true addiction is being creative. And I think when I'm not being creative, I get self-destructive really fast. And I'm grateful that, like, I never would have thought I would have had a family and a kid. That's beyond anything I can even conceive of. And like that love I have for even the child is so terrifying to me and overwhelming. And I think managing that knowledge that this little person carries all of my joy now, you know, like that it's so like that's that very basic and that is, and just trying to be optimistic about the world in a way that I didn't have to be. I was always, I just didn't have to care. And now I'm like, oh, I fucking have like literal skin in the game now. And I want things to be, I want to be optimistic for her, but also because I hope the world isn't a dystopian apocalypse when I leave. And that would be a big bummer. So
it would be.
Yeah,
but she'll never have to take driver's ed.
She'll never have to take driver's ed and have that feeling of failure that I experienced when I failed my first test. And she will probably, I mean, it's so hard to conceive of what the world even looks like. That's the other thing. I try to stay, like, I don't know what to teach her. You know, like, what are we going to teach her? Like, kids today are like, so tell me again why I should. So it's more just reevaluating really basics. Like, why do we learn? Why is it important to learn? Teaching her to love the process of doing something instead of the outcome, which I think we were very much like, get that A, get that grade, go to that college. And I think just having to reevaluate and invert everything that I thought I knew and learned and the way our society is operated, and recognizing that it is not, you know, maybe we should be like, hey, take this blowtorch and go learn to weld. Like,
yeah, because lawyers might not exist in 10 years.
More than likely not. Yeah. So I don't know.
Podcasters will, though.
Podcasters probably won't either.
We're like cockroaches. We'll be the last to go.
Yeah, we'll be competing with Stephen Colbert, though. So
yeah, it's true.
Where can we find you and your book?
My book can be pre-ordered at drinkyourwaysober.com, and it'll be out September 30th. And then the podcast is Blocked and Reported. We're at blockedandreported.org.
Yay. Thank you so much.
So good to see you.
You too.
This has been Walk-Ins Welcome with Bridget Phetasy. I'm Bridget Phetasy, and you're welcome. It's the dumbest line.